Good evening to everyone. We are sitting here with our two guests. Our fourth summit of the anti-European protests just ended. And we have two really special guests with us. On my right-hand side is Anthony Coughlan. He's the director of the National Platform EU Research and Information Centre from Ireland. And he's also a senior lecturer emeritus in social policy, Trinity College Dublin. Hello.
Hello. Nice to be here.
Hello. And from my left-hand side, this is Herman Kelly. And he's a press officer of the Europe of Freedom and Democracy Group. He's also a member of UK Independence Party. And he's also in the European Parliament.
Yeah. Very pleased to be here.
Let's start with our questions. Mostly I would like to base on Ireland, because Ireland is something of a country really similar to Croatia. And for starters, I would like to ask you on your opinions on Ireland being in the European Union, and what do you think is good, what is bad?
Well, at present, we are very disillusioned with being in the European Union. We have been 40 years since we joined the European community, as it then was. And at present, now we are in a very bad economic situation. We have 15% unemployment. We are run daily by the European Central Bank, the European Commission, and the International Monetary Fund, the IMF. And they take the detailed decisions that decide everything in Ireland. And the same is done, of course, for Greece, Portugal, Italy, and now Spain. And we have lost whatever democracy and independence we had. And moreover, we were foolish enough to join the euro currency. And that means we have no currency of our own, which means that, of course, the interest on our credit and our exchange rate is decided in Brussels and in Frankfurt. So we have no control over our own affairs to all intents and purposes.
Okay. Do you know the number of foreigners that immigrated in Ireland in the last 2 years, or maybe recent?
We were told before the Treaty of Nice, which was about the 2004 enlargement to Europe, we were told that approximately 10,000 people per year would come to Ireland. But since 2004, over 500,000 people have come from Eastern Europe to Ireland. It has had a very large effect on the unemployment situation in Ireland, the undercutting of wages. It contributed to a boom, a building boom, which led to a very large, very bad bust, which, as Tony has just said, has left us with an unemployment rate of 15%, and will mean that this year, in 2011, that 100,000 people will leave and emigrate from Ireland to go to Canada and Australia. And it's a very bad situation. One of the reasons we've had the boom and bust is because Ireland was a member of the Eurozone. It didn't. The interest rates were set to help Germany and to help France, completely inappropriate for Ireland. Credit was far too cheap. People were able to buy and build houses like crazy, and we were importing hundreds of thousands of people to come and build houses and flats in Ireland, which we were renting out to these people. And of course, now the whole thing is over. They've all gone home and left all the Irish unemployed and ready for emigration. So it's been a very bad deal for Ireland in general. Very bad deal.
Can you tell us something more on the economic side of Ireland right now? Which are regulations that Ireland needs to undertake in 2013?
Yes, well, it's very important to appreciate that the European Union is a kind of federation, super federation. You were in the Yugoslav Federation for many years, Croatia, but this is the European Federation in which the laws are made effectively by the big states. At present, the big states have so many votes each, and states like Ireland and Croatia, if it joined, would have so many votes. But all that system is being changed in 3 years' time. In 2014, lawmaking in the European Union is being put on a essentially population basis, like in any any state. And laws will be passed as long as basically the majority of states are in favour. So 15 states will be able to outvote 12, as long as the 15 have 2/3 of the total EU population. And that effectively means that Germany's vote will go from its present 8% to 16%. France's vote, Italy's vote, and Britain's vote will go from their present 8% to 12% each. And Ireland's vote will go from its present 2% to 1%. And I think if Croatia joined the EU, it would have the same position as Ireland, and it would have basically 1% of the vote because it's got 1% of the population. So you'd be joining a union where most of your laws will be made by the European Council ministers on the basis of this voting system, because it's the government ministers make the laws, and Croatia's minister would have 1% of the total vote. Germany's would have 16%, and France and Britain and Italy would have 12 each. So you can see how that system is not going to serve Croatia's interests or the interests of small countries in general.
Recent things happening in Spain and Greece. Can you maybe comment on the employment rates and what is going on in Spain and Greece?
Well, I know that the youth unemployment rate for those under 30 in Spain, the unemployment rate is 42%. That means almost 1 in 2 people under 30 are unemployed, which is incredible. As I said, the whole credit boom, which came from the euro, has had a huge effect on Spain, as it has had on Ireland. Very detrimental, has led to a lot of unemployment and a lot of resentment against the European Union.
Yeah, I don't know if people are aware that it's a condition of joining the EU that you agree to give up your own currency after a few years. And that's very important, because it means that you have no control any longer over your credit or over your exchange rate with other currencies. And if a government wants to help its own people, it needs control of credit or its exchange rate. And the East European countries, many of them were under the USSR or under the Russians in the olden days, but the Russians never insisted on everyone giving up their national currency in order to adopt the ruble. But in order to join the EU, you have to agree to give up your national currency and adopt the euro. And the countries that have done that, or at least some of the countries that have done that in the Mediterranean, Greece, Portugal, Italy, Spain, and Ireland outside the Mediterranean, are now being crucified by these quite unsuitable rates of interest and the banking bubble which they give rise to. And you've had a property bubble, banks gone bust and being bailed out by their taxpayers, and an austerity regime, a regime of harsh economic cutbacks and a rise in taxation and so on, being imposed at the order or behest of the European Central Bank on the Greeks, on the Italians, on the Portuguese, on the Irish, and they're running the show. And it would be extraordinarily stupid of people here to agree to put yourself under that regime in order to benefit important sections of your political class who would do very well when they draw big salaries as bureaucrats or parliamentarians in Brussels, because the level of salaries there is 10 times as much as you'd ever get at home here in Croatia. And that's why the leaders of the big political parties and those who hope to get a few big jobs in the European bureaucracy or in the European Central Bank or in the European Parliament, you'll have 10 or 12 members, and they'll be paid 10 or 12 times as much you get in the Croatian Parliament. That's why these people all want it. They'll do well, but you'll have no more say, and the Croatian Parliament and the Croatian people will have no more say any longer in all the things that most fundamentally affect your lives.
If Croatia joins the European Union, the national parliament will become like a county council with decision making power over only very small and irrelevant decisions. All the major decisions will be made in Brussels by people who you do not elect, by people who you cannot reject, and why would Ireland? Why do we struggle for 800 years for Irish independence to give it away without a shot being fired? Why would Croatia fight for 1,000 years, seek sovereignty and independence and freedom for 1,000 years, to give it away after 15 years after achieving that and what did you achieve it from? From the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia, and now you're going into the Federation of the European Union. I think it's crazy. And as Tony says, the political elite in Croatia want it because it's good for them. They're on for big salaries, big money, but they benefit financially at your expense. Okay.
Thank you. Did you know about the protests in Croatia in February this year, in March this year?
Not really. There's not much coverage of Croatian affairs in Ireland, as I don't suppose there's much coverage of Irish affairs in Croatia. But as members of the European Union, we certainly know what's happening in Greece, Portugal and Spain and how they're being crucified, as we are. And we just think it's extraordinary that there should be such enthusiasm among your political class, at least the leaders of most of the political parties, to join this situation where you've just had your independence for 15 or 20 years. I think some of them have made quite a mess of things, and they're rejected by their own people, but they hope they'll do well in Brussels if they get the big jobs that are available there. But the ordinary Croatian people are just putting themselves under new masters, who are essentially the big states of Europe, Germany, France, Britain, Italy. They'll dominate the show.
Can I just say, like, the days of new states joining the EU and getting big payouts is very much over. Like, at the present time, because of the euro crisis, Croatia will be joining the European Union as a European debt union. Because of the euro crisis, Croatia will be coming in and almost immediately having to contribute to bail out countries like Greece and Ireland and Portugal and probably Spain and Italy and whoever next, probably Belgium. It's going to cost you a lot of money. Like, you will lose power, you will lose money, you will lose your freedom. Any Croat person who would voluntarily sign up to the European Union must be frankly crazy. Okay.
Thank you. Well, I would like to thank you for the interview. Thank you for being here. Thank you for meeting us in Croatia. And I hope to see you soon, and not in European Union.
Thank you very much.
When we're all free again.